Does your wardrobe contain a pea coat, a trench coat, a pantsuit, or a tunic? If so, those are all nods to the legendary fashion designer Yves Saint Laurent. And thanks to 2 new museums dedicated to his legacy, you can soon see the originals. Joining us now to discuss is WSJ fashion critic Christina Binkley. Hi, Christina. Thanks for being with us.
I'm glad to be here, Tanya.
So, Christina, you say Yves Saint Laurent arguably had a greater impact on the clothes we wear today as women than any designer since Coco Chanel.
Yeah, that's, it's his impact is so strong on most of our closets, mine included, I'm sure yours, that there are things that we wear routinely that we consider basics that are really, we're wearing them as women because he put them out there for
Amazing. I love going back in history and getting a sense of this. So give us an idea of some of his most influential designs that we're still wearing today.
Probably his most famous one is the tuxedo, for often referred to as Le Smoking. He introduced it as a, took it from men and put it out there as something very radical at the time, back in the mid 1960s. Now we see it done all the time by many designers. The safari jacket, that was a workman's piece of uniform. He put it out there, and it was worn by Verushka in the 1960s and became very common. The pea coat, I think every preppy girl in the 1970s, I remember appearing in movies like Love Story, had a pea coat. That was him. He again took that from sailors and gave it to us. The jumpsuit, the pantsuit, trouser suits, think Hillary Clinton. That's going back to him, popularizing that look and really creating it for us.
So tell us about these 2 new museums. Where will they be located and who's building them?
They're being built by Pierre Berger, who was the longtime business partner and for many years life partner of Yves Saint Laurent. He started a foundation after Mr. Saint Laurent's death. It's called the Fondation Pierre Berger Yves Saint Laurent. It owns the archive, this incredibly huge archive of Saint Laurent's work, and is putting together these museums. There's going to be one in the atelier, the studio that Saint Laurent worked in Paris on the Avenue Marceau. It's incredible. I visited it a couple of weeks ago. You can still see the cigarette stains on the carpet. He was a smoker, and so you can actually go in and see where he actually worked in a lot of the things that he worked with, his tools. The other one is going to be in his beloved Marrakech. They're building a new museum there.
Gorgeous. Well, that's certainly worth the trip. No, Christina, you say this is an unprecedented effort in part because designer labels don't often keep archives dating to the inception. Is that right?
Yeah, well, you think about it. A lot of designer labels are started by somebody who's dirt poor, working out of their living room or bedroom, and selling off their initial creations so that they can build the next collection. That's the typical line. For some reason, Saint Laurent, he was well funded by the time he started his label at the age of in the early 20s. He kept everything from the beginning. Some of them I'm surprised he was able to. He kept some dresses that he created for Christian Dior that really shouldn't have belonged to him. They belong to Christian Dior. I don't know why they're not in the Dior archives.
They can fight over that. So, Christina, what do you think his particular genius was?
I think this is interesting because his particular genius was not really that long-lived. All of these things that he gave to us, he did in the first 10 years or so of his career. He had a much longer career. He was around for 44 years. But what he did, he was obsessed with youth culture. He was a youth himself. He was looking at what he wanted to wear, what his friends wanted to wear, this whole gender-bending sort of he-she look that he did. Safari jackets were worn by men and women, pea coats, trench coats. These were all things where he was looking at menswear and adapting for women's wear at a time in the 1960s when people were really open to new ideas. I think that's really what it was. It was this incredible adaptation.
And all of that still feels very modern and relevant today. Well, Christina Binkley, thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.